close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport Podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star, and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. On this week's show we're going to focus on pre-season training and ask what are the best practices clubs should be following at this time of year in order to get the most out of the season ahead. And in a few minutes we're going to chat to ex-Cork footballer Colm O'Driscoll, who, as many of our listeners will know, has found plenty of success working as a strength and conditioning coach with the likes of Newcestown, O'Donovan Rossa and the Cork under-20s. But Kieran, before we hear from Colm even, I want to know a little bit about your own personal S&C routine, your nutrition plan. Now, we might as well make this clear from the top of the show. Neither you or I are elite athletes. Well,
one of us is less elite than the other, but go on.
But we might fall into the bracket of the a good bit below the elite. I mean, in amongst the common man. So I think it's interesting to kind of see how the likes of ourselves, who are sports nuts, who have played sport at a variety of different levels. Obviously, the likes of strength and conditioning and nutrition probably didn't come into your sporting life too much. We're going to hear from Colm, who's going to talk to us about how you can transfer some of the elements of elite nutrition and strength and conditioning into the common athlete's way of living. But from your own perspective, how's your life in sport and training been?
As you know, for my chiseled physique, like I'm a dedicated kind of, I suppose, twice a year gym man, and you can see that the results are there. But not all serious. It's more kind of, I actually started back running the weekend just gone. Like we were just chatting to Colm, obviously, for this podcast, and I made the mistake of going too hard, too fast, too early. Kind of I did two jogs the weekend just gone on a Friday and a Sunday, 6k in both days. First day the 6k was fine, the Friday tipped away. Sunday then, oh my god, the legs were absolute bits, but just didn't, kind of just like that shock and awe technique, kind of try too much too soon. So nutrition is so important. I'm not going to sit here and be some sort of expert, because I'm not, kind of I have all the bad habits that people shouldn't have, but Colm talks an awful lot of sense, and it's kind of, whether you're a junior footballer or whether you're just someone doing a bit of cycling or a bit of jogging, there's a lot you can take from what Colm says, because a lot of it's common sense and a lot of it is stuff we've heard before. But I always think it's that strength of mind, the word I'm looking for, kind of that almost application to kind of, like he was saying, takeaways aren't good for you, kind of microwave meals aren't good for you. But like every now and again we all lapse into that, if you can stay away from those sort of foods, that can really help. But you'd be more along this line, like you are, you're a boxer, you're a soccer player, you're a hurler from that bastion in Kilkenny, so kind of you're in a better spot to talk about this than I am.
Yeah, well, obviously you mentioned I do still play soccer. I do.
Yes, we hear about it every week. The ball
I do box, and I did hurl last year. But as any of the people who I train with or play with, they'll be able to tell you I am nowhere close to the elite level as well. And it's nutrition in particular is something I've never really taken too seriously, primarily because I realised from a young enough age I was never going to be more than a club or a junior player. So it kind of fell by the wayside. But after hearing Colm speak last night, there are little wins that could turn in theory. Now I'm too old now, but for like say a 22 or 23 year old club hurler or soccer player who feels like they're probably not good enough to maybe push on to the next level, so they just don't take their nutrition seriously, which is like what I and so many of my friends would have done, going out drinking, eating takeaways too much, etc. But the way Colm spoke though, there are little wins. If you actually do take your nutrition seriously from a young age, it will actually give you an advantage over players who might be far better than you. But if you have the application, so that's what I found interesting. It's too late for me. It's probably too late for you.
But it's not too late for me. But even for the general listener to this, it's there's bits you can take. A couple of years ago, when Colm had the gym out in Drimoleague, I did he was a physical trainer for me for a number of months. It all started, we did Get Active magazine, here in the Southern Star, and this year's the magazine is actually out next week, so keep an eye on that. But for that magazine, it was 3 years ago, I went out when Colm had the gym out in Drimoleague, and I did a session, and I'm not joking, I felt so sick after it. It kind of highlighted to me just how far off the mark I'd fallen. So for a couple of months then, I used to meet Colm kind of twice a week, and the difference was incredible, you know. Tough work kind of, but between eating properly and gym work and so on, for those, I felt the benefits kind of almost instantly, kind of. And I kept that up for probably 5 or 6 months, and then I fell into my old ways again, and I just stopped and haven't gone back since. But it was like a glimpse into, you just feel so much better about yourself, you know, kind of, I suppose, not that we take fitness for granted or health for granted, but if you do eat properly and you do exercise, there's definite benefits there. Like, you have more energy during the day, you just feel better about yourself, and just this general sense of well-being. So, like, it's a new year now, and if everyone just kind of, I suppose, took a bit more interest in their health, you do feel the benefits of it.
Okay, well, Kieran, I think that's enough guff from two, I'll go so far as saying slobs. So let's hear from a man who actually knows what he's talking about when it comes to strength and conditioning, pre-season training and nutrition. It's Cora's Colm O'Driscoll.
Delighted to be joined in the studio by Colm O'Driscoll for a chat about strength and conditioning. Colm has been involved with the O'Donovan Rossa seniors and under 21s as their strength and conditioning coach the last 2 years, with Newcestown last year, the Newcestown seniors, and involved with the Cork under 20s for 1 year as well. So no better man to chat about, I suppose, strength and conditioning, especially this time of the year, Colm. Pre-season training, there's clubs all over West Cork and even the county. They're kind of kicking back into gear after a couple of weeks or months off. So first off, from your experience, did you like coming back into training after the Christmas period? What was that like?
I don't know, does anybody like coming back into training, or maybe after the Christmas break, or maybe starting just before it? But I suppose you enjoy getting back into the buzz of training and you know, meeting the lads that you maybe haven't seen for a few weeks or whatever. You know, and maybe just getting out into the pitch and getting a bit of fresh air into the lungs and back in the gym and things like that. But you know, I don't think anybody really enjoys the real hard slog of pre-season training. But
yeah, because pre-season training, like, that is when the hard work is done for the season ahead. But what should players get out of pre-season? What is pre-season for?
I suppose pre-season is to get you through the year, really. You know, like in the S&C industry, we call it kind of making players robust, really. And we want to get them through injury-free. Different players have different needs. Some guys need to maybe lean up or cut down a little bit. More guys need to bulk up. More guys looking for more speed, more power. So it depends on what players are looking for. But if you were to take an overall general view, it would be to get players through the year injury-free, and you know, set a baseline level of fitness to help them navigate through.
Like, has it changed over the years? Like you've obviously been playing football for Jesus, I don't know how long now, well over a decade or even more, going back. Like, have you seen a lot of changes over the years in terms of, are players looking after themselves more? Are they coming back fitter into pre-season compared to, let's say, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think they are, and I think the season is the general season is probably longer, you know, which gives your layoff time, it seems to be shorter. And the fitness levels of teams and the strength of guys from working in the gym and stuff is gone way up, even in the last 4 or 5 or 6 years. So I don't think fellas can afford to take big breaks anymore or come back away out of condition or out of shape, because you know, the speed of the game has has really progressed, and you know, you need to be fit and ready to go earlier in the season than maybe before, so that teams can work on tactics, and there's lots of different things brought in. So I don't think the guys can leave themselves go out of condition anymore. Like,
those first couple of weeks, so like you said, you want to lay a base for the season ahead. What's a typical opening couple of weeks for a footballer or hurler back pre-season training? Is it a lot of fitness work, aerobic work, or what exactly are they doing, Colm? Or what should they do?
Well, look, different guys have different theories on it, and look, there's no exact right or exact wrong to it. You know, different guys have different ways of doing it. But to me, you'd always have to fitness test your team at the start of the year and see where they're at. And basically, you're making out maybe a 5-6 week program from there, just to improve the base level of fitness. You know, you want to take up the work on their aerobic conditioning and push up their fitness level, which will help recovery and stuff as you move into the second phase of it. I suppose you're also introducing lads to the gym. You know, the first 6 weeks of the gym program, you're just getting them back into it. Some guys start with circuit training for 2 or 3 weeks just to get the body used to training again, get used to loads going through the muscles, get the tendons ready to go. You know, I find that if you push it too hard too early, you will break guys.
You mentioned there like injury prevention, kind of how can you build that into pre-season to help fellas get through a year?
Well, a properly put together gym program should include injury prevention stuff, should have prehab work in it, and you can also do a little bit of work on the pitch. You know, which when you are doing some of your conditioning stuff, you can work on a little bit of hamstring work and stuff at the end of the session. With a lot of guys are picking up hamstring strains, and some of that is due to overload, some of it is due to lack of conditioning. So there's different factors, so that you've got to assess the group of players you have and go from there.
Like I said, like now these are the weeks where clubs are kind of dusting off the boots again. You mentioned there about kind of on the pitch. Is it important to get the right balance between being out in the pitch and being in the gym?
Yes, it certainly is. No, I think a lot of guys kind of keep their gym work going throughout the year, which is a good way of doing it. You know, like yes, you can ease back for a certain amount of time if you want to, and then there's certain times of the year you can put the boot down, and there's times that you can back off again. But I think just in general, guys are looking after themselves from a health point of view a little bit more, so they're inclined to keep their gym work up all year. So it's just about, you know, tailoring it in at the start of the year that you're not overloading them when you do put them back on the pitch. You know, it might be a case that you might need to back off the gym work a little bit for the first couple of weeks, just so that the load doesn't go through the roof, and that guys are coming off the pitch uninjured. Like,
it's made huge advances in the last couple of years, kind of like those days of flogging a fella for 20 laps on the pitch or running up and down sand dunes on the beach, like they're gone now, are they?
They are really, yes. I suppose there's a couple of reasons. Guys won't do it for you anymore anyway.
Yeah.
You know, you tell a guy that he's going and running laps there and he'll be looking at you like you've two heads, so you just don't do it.
Yeah.
But like if you work off a level of fitness that you, after fitness testing, guys, there's much easier ways of doing it. You know, you don't have to keep guys out on the pitch all night at all. At the start of the year, you're talking maybe 30-40 minutes, maybe max. And when you're working off an exact science that you're working through a fitness test, then you don't have to have lads running laps or unnecessary stuff. So I think that also helps cut down on injuries. And I think guys they appreciate that when they're off the field after 35 or 40 minutes, and you know, you might hit the gym then for maybe another half an hour or so. You know, or like some guys prefer to do the gym work on their own, which is okay too once you know that they're doing the right stuff and all of that. So either or, but like you got to be conscious that guys have families, you know, they got to go home, so they're working long days now at the moment as well. So I don't think any guy wants to be out on the pitch for an hour and a half in January. And
at what point in pre-season would you actually introduce the ball to training? You know, kind of we're talking about the fitness side of it, but I suppose the skill sides are so important too. Kind of, would you introduce that at the start, or would you actually wait a couple of weeks till fitness has built up a bit?
Well, again, look, different guys will have different opinions on it. Personally, I don't bring it in the first week or the second week either.
Yeah.
I might do maybe 2 or 3 weeks just out, and the only reason I don't do it is because it shortens the session. You know, and it's probably freezing cold, it's pouring rain down on top of fellas, and your basic aim for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season is just to push up the fitness level. You know, just a little bit, just so that you can move on to other stuff. So I personally don't use the ball for the first couple of weeks, and it just shortens the session, and you can put a gym work with that instead then if you want to.
A couple of do's and don'ts so for listeners, like I said earlier, like you've played with Cork, you're involved with Skib, involved with Newcestown, you have the experience. So just to give the listeners a couple of tips, kind of like do's and don'ts when it comes to pre-season training. I
think from looking at teams that I've worked with in the past and some of the stuff that they might have done, I think fellas have pushed it too hard too soon. And then you lose a guy through injury, and like you lose a guy at the start of the year with a hamstring injury, you could be talking 6-8 weeks before you get him back.
Yeah.
You know, that's a huge block of training that he will have missed out on, and he probably won't catch up on for the rest of the year. So I think don't push guys too hard too early. Introduce them back into it, and you got to get feedback from players, you know, how they found the session, you know, did they rate it easy, was it moderate, was it hard? And you got to be factoring that into your monitoring of guys really, and just it doesn't have to be complicated. You just talk to a fella. You know, walk up to them after the session, what you think of that? You know, was there more in the tank? Did you find it extremely difficult? Was it easy? And listen to the feedback. And you're hoping that all the guys are giving you similar feedback, and then they're all feeling that the session is where you want it to be. And then you can gradually start to up that, and there's ways and means about doing that. So like I'd always err on the side of caution, and you're not going to break guys in the first week or two.
Yeah. Would you tailor kind of sessions individually to players? Like if player A finds it he finds it okay, or player B is finding it hard, kind of would you individually tailor within training, or is it just one level across it all?
no, you'd have to tailor it for different guys. Like there's no point in having your fittest guy cruising for 25 or 30 minutes and maybe your guy at the other end of the scale and he's really suffering. That's not going to help anybody. So like that is one of the big advantages of doing a fitness test. You get an individual score for every guy, and then you can monitor guys from there. You can put them into different groups. You can split your training into, maybe you might have 3 groups or 4 groups of different fitness levels, and then a guy slots into where he should be, and that way of doing it, everyone's working at the same tempo.
Like you do that fitness test right at the start. Would you do a follow-up fitness test after a couple of weeks or months just to see where fellas are at?
Personally, I fitness test guys about every 6 weeks just to see where they're at. You want to make sure that no guy is actually overtraining and that he's training and actually going backwards. That's going to be detrimental to him. So I always fitness test guys every kind of 6 weeks. And you also got to factor in kind of deload weeks. It's basically just taking some of the load off of fellas. Giving them a chance to recover, letting the body recover again. And on deload weeks, it doesn't have to be fancy. You can maybe tell a guy, look, we're going to do a couple nights in the pool. Or you're going to go to the beach, you're going to go for a walk in the water, maybe a jog along the sand, that kind of stuff. It's just, I think guys have made it a little bit too complicated, and they're nearly dictating to guys what fellas should be doing. Just give them a rest, give them a break, let them back off for a week. And you'll be surprised when you get him back the following week, he's tearing for training again, and he's starting to feel quite fresh. And that's the whole aim of the game. You
mentioned overtraining there, and I presume that's a pitfall that a lot of players might fall into. They might just train too much, whether it's too many sessions, too much in the gym. Like, what's the big danger? Is it they'll get injured? Like, they have a higher, they're more susceptible to getting injured, or what is the big danger with overtraining?
There's a couple of things. That would be a main one, yes. Where a guy will just, the load just goes over the top, and next thing he tears a hamstring. He's picking something. You lose him for 4 or 5 weeks, and you could lose your fitness level in 3 to 4 weeks. So if you're losing a guy to a hamstring due to pushing him too hard and overloading him too much, then a lot of the work that he's done in the previous 5 or 6 weeks, he's going to lose it. So that's a big factor for sitting down at the start of the year, looking at where your game's at. There's times of the year where you don't have games where you can push guys a little bit more, and then you got to back off coming into games so the guy is fresh. And you see teams, maybe they're training like dogs right up to the championship game, and next thing they're flat in the championship game, and you're wondering what's wrong. You probably pushed them too hard.
Yeah.
You've left the whole thing on the training field. So like there's very easy ways of have you look at your season. When can I push it? When do I need to back off? When do I need to give guys maybe a rest for a week? And then you're looking to get the most out of them for games.
And does that play into trying to get a team to peak for a certain point of the season?
Yeah, it certainly does. Yeah, like this, like it's especially into J season, you've got to maybe peak at a certain time. Excuse me, and hold that for a certain length of time as well, which isn't so easy to do.
Yeah.
Especially like with maybe the new format now, you could be playing championship in maybe April. Your next one could be July. Your next one could be complete into the summer again.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to have a lad maybe raving at top speed in April and hold him the whole way through the summer. So there'll be certain times where you'll get him to a certain level of fitness, and then if he's not going to be playing for maybe 2 months again, then you might back him off a little bit. You might do something else. It might be it could be anything. It could be you might go to the woods for a session where you just go for a run the woods. It could be something completely different. I know some teams do boxing sessions here and there, and I find them fantastic once they're put into the right area of the right time of the year. So there's different ways of keeping guys fit and interested is another big one. If a guy loses interest, it doesn't matter how fit he is really, you're not going to get the best out of him. He's not going to be enjoying his football or his hurling or she, whatever they're doing. So I think you've got to balance the whole thing together because the season is so long.
What have you got very interesting there, like you said, to keep the players interested? You mentioned boxing, running through the woods. What do you introduce to your training just to keep players interested? Because like you said, I presume if it's the same thing week after week, fellas will just lose a bit of interest in that. So is that so important just to introduce these new elements, kind of whether it's take them out to the woods or do whatever?
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. You might be doing anything completely different, but it might be a case of you're going from your own training pitch to somebody else's. And then you might decide, look, we'll have a night off and we'll go out together for the night. You might go to your part of the country, you might go over to County Bones, and you might play a challenge game down there and you say, look lads, we'll go for the night, we'll come back home tomorrow and we'll start fresh again next week, and you'd be amazed at how that breaks the monotony of the whole thing. And I think guys, when guys get a little bit of freedom and they say, oh geez, yeah, we're going to get a night out here, they look forward to it. And like if you know yourself, if you're looking forward to anything, you're going to do the task a bit better.
And as well as the physical side, kind of, we're talking about pre-season training here, the strength and conditioning, like even hydration, recovery, rest, eating properly, they're so important too.
Yeah, like I kind of use the analogy sometimes that if you put dirty diesel into a car, it might go, but it's not going to go as well as it could. You know, so like I'm talking about, you know, you're eating properly. It doesn't have to, again, it doesn't have to be real fancy stuff. You're talking about your breakfast in the morning, a snack, maybe your lunch, a snack, your dinner in the evening and a snack. And then you're looking to get plenty of sleep after that. You know, like any guy training is looking for 8+ hours of sleep, minimum, really and truly. Because if you, like, that's when your body really recovers and you know, replenishes itself for the week ahead and for the following days. Hydration is huge. You know, there's been lots of research done on maybe guys and girls that are underhydrated, and you just don't perform to your best. It's your performance levels are very low.
When it comes to, like you said there, kind of food is so important. What are some of the big no-nos for club players? Like, what food shouldn't you go next or near?
Geez, look, I could get shot, but look, we all
know.
There's
players all over West Cork now blocking their ears.
Yeah, I understand. And look, I'm no angel either, but look, we all know that the fast food and you know, the burgers and chips and the stuff like very high in fat are, look, they're not the way to go, really and truly. And look, I'm not saying cut them out completely. No, we all have them, but like there'll be a time and a place to have them. Yeah. And you know, you that's the balance of what I'm talking about. I suppose a lot of the pre-packaged food is high in sugar, very high in sugar, and you're getting a big burst and you're getting nothing else out of it really. You know, so like you're looking for your regular run-of-the-mill food, which gives you sustained energy levels throughout the day. You know, you're looking to get enough, especially guys that are training very hard, maybe lifting heavy in the gym. You're looking to get certain levels of protein in. And again, your protein levels depend on your body weight. It depends on what you're trying to do. So again, everybody wouldn't be looking for the same intake of protein. But like, you know, guys and girls that are serious about their training and stuff will talk to a nutritionist and, you know, maybe sit down with them and make out a little plan. And it doesn't have to be a big fancy plan. Again, it's just something that's suitable for them, depending on what they're trying to do. Are they trying to maintain weight? Are they looking to cut? Are they looking to bulk up a little bit for the season ahead? Again, it depends on what they're trying to do. And I think most important of all that is fuel properly for games.
What part of strength and conditioning actually attracted you to it in the first place? How come you got involved in this side of it?
I just found it was fascinating what the body could do. And like I still do. I watch a lot of athletics and I watch a lot of track and field and like the Diamond Leagues. I think they're brilliant to watch. And it's just looking at the athletes there and what they can achieve and how much they're pushing their bodies. And I found it very interesting of how they were doing it, the methods of training that they were using. So like I went to St. College for 4.5 years and I just wanted to learn. You know, and there's a huge base of knowledge up there, and just the amount of research that's out there on strength and conditioning and just fitness in general is huge, and it's evolving all the time. So I think you got to move with it, and you're always looking for the latest research out of, you know, what's happening and keeping up to speed with it. So I just think it's fascinating. So you're always learning. Like
I said, being involved with O'Donovan Rossa and the Cork Under-20s first season and Newcestown last year, Vernon, she had a great run with the footballers to the county semi-final. What's next for you? Like, you want to keep going down this path?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. You know, I think so. I would like to think that I've had a bit of time left playing it, but, you know, like, you're making a lot of friends. You know, you're working with different clubs. I know some guys would say that maybe I'm a bit furry on the line or whatever, but look, that's all left inside the world. So like you're making friends, and I would like to keep going down the path of working with teams, and, you know, maybe looking at some of the high up maybe rugby teams, maybe Munster rugby and guys, and just I would like to get a chance to see how they operate and learn from those guys. So like you're meeting guys that have maybe done more than you or a little bit more experience, and you're always looking to tap into the knowledge that they have, and it's fascinating that every team does something a little bit different, and, you know, maybe there's no exact right and wrong to it, and it's just maybe you've got to find what works for the athletes that you work with.
Like, you obviously get a certain enjoyment from playing on the field, like, you know, with football wise, but let's say you obviously get a certain enjoyment too from seeing a footballer that you've trained take on board the advice you've given him and excel, kind of take his game to the next level. You must get a certain satisfaction from that as well.
Yeah, it's nice to stand back and watch a guy that you've maybe trained with a couple of years coming through and see the progress that he's made. And, you know, maybe maybe playing very well or winning again and coming off, and he kind of just looks at you and says, "Geez, that worked." You know, and you get a fierce feeling of satisfaction, and you kind of say to yourself, "Well, yeah, but there's more. You know, we can go more, we can push it more, we can do this, we can do X, Y, and Z." So like there's a big feeling of satisfaction attached to it.
And how about you, the brothers, Kevin and Brian, take on your advice when you're giving them these helpful little snippets?
I don't know, do I give them much? I'm trying to catch the two of them going around the field, so I'm not giving you much at the moment. But yeah, look, Kevin is still involved with Cork, and you know, they travel the country and they're playing against different teams, and you know, you get little bits of information about what other teams do, and you know, even tactically how they set up, and it's just other teams' fitness levels at different times of the year, and I kind of always monitor that and record it and see where guys are at and how long you can keep your peak level of fitness up for before you got to back off and stuff. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. You're kind of always learning, you know, and you can kind of, it doesn't have to be fancy, but you can record what you do, you know, year in, year out, and tweak it and change it a little bit until you find what works for you and what works for your athletes.
You mentioned tactics there. Would you introduce tactics into pre-season training, like kind of how a team's going to set up for the year ahead if the management has a certain style in place? Would you kind of introduce tactics, or is it too early in the year for that? Or
personally, I don't. Very early in the season, I just find that if you pick one or two things to focus on, and like in the pre-season, that's probably getting guys working properly in the gym, getting them on the correct program, and push you up their level of fitness. Really. I kind of stick to the two of those just early on in the season. I think if you overload guys with lots of stuff, you kind of might fall between two stools, and they mightn't get as much as they should out of the whole thing. So I don't introduce tactics early on in the season, but look, closer you get to game time or whatever, you got to be doing it, and you got to be doing your skill level and all that. But I find that if you can get guys through the pre-season, they feel themselves getting a little bit fitter, they're enjoying the thing, then you're introducing a ball and you're introducing a new element all the time, and they're, you know, basically to me, you can't play a sport unless you're fit. Well, you can't. I don't say you can't play a sport, but you enjoy it much more when you're fit.
You get more out of it.
You get more out of it, yeah. You get more out of it, yeah. So I just find that, you know, you get guys and girls fit, you keep them fit, and then they enjoy the sport and they're playing much more.
Brilliant. Colm, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to the Star Sport Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to all things sport in West Cork. Don't forget to pick up this Thursday's Southern Star newspaper, including our award-winning sports section with everything a West Cork sports fan could want. In shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world via www.thesouthernstar.ie/e-paper. The Southern Star and the Star Sport Podcast, number one for sport in West Cork.
Welcome back to the Star Sport Podcast. That was a good chat there with Kieran and Colm. And before we wrap up today's show and preview what's coming up in this week's paper, there's the small matter of the West Cork Sports Star Awards taking place this Saturday evening at the Celtic Ross Hotel. And Kieran, you might just give us a taste of what to expect. So obviously, some people who will be listening will probably be in attendance. We'll also have interviews from the night, probably on next week's podcast. And Ger McCarthy will be covering the event on social media throughout Saturday. So if you can't make it, keep an eye out. We'll have all the coverage and the announcement of all the award winners. But Kieran, maybe give us a taster of what people who are going can expect.
It's always one of the great nights of the year. It's a celebration of West Cork sport. So how it works is every year monthly winners are honoured and recognised for their feats, and then there's a gala awards night every January where the overall West Cork Sports Star of the Year is crowned. We know a couple of winners already heading into this Saturday night in the Celtic Ross Hotel. The team of the year will be St James's GA Club for their well-documented success in 2019. The Special Achievement Award is going to the Downey ladies footballers for their success in winning the County Junior B Football Championship. That's, of course, they lost 3 finals in a row and then came back to win it in 2019. The Youth Award is going to a very, very talented Cork GA dual player Fiona Keating from Courcey Rovers, who won All-Ireland minor titles in hurling and in camogie and football with Cork last year, and she also plays for the Courcey Rovers senior team and the West Cork ladies football team. And Fiona is someone we're going to be hearing a lot about in years to come. And I remember just after Fiona got her quarterly award last year, the night after her presentation in the Celtic Ross Hotel, she went out, she scored 4-4 for Courcey's in the Senior County Camogie Championship. So a very talented young woman and a deserving winner. The West Cork Sports Star Hall of Fame inductee will be announced in this Thursday, Southern Star, so pick up the paper to see who that is. And all I can say, it is a very, very talented West Cork sports person and very, very much deserving. On the night, the overall West Cork Sports Star will be announced, and I'm just going to very quickly run through those who are in the running. We have Mark White and Chris O'Leary from UCC, both were involved in Sigerson Cup and Fitzgibbon Cup success earlier in the year. John Hodnett from Rosscarbery and Josh Wycherley from Cahill were part of the Ireland under-20 team that won the Grand Slam in early 2019. Melissa Duggan from Downey's was a monthly award winner. Ian Crowley was the captain of Togar Celtic when they won the Beamish Cup in 2019. Conor Hourahan from Bandon, who plays with Ireland and Aston Villa, won the May Award after Villa got promoted to the Premier League. Darren McElhinney won the May Award after he won a bronze medal at the European Under-20 Athletics Championships in Sweden. Then we had Peter O'Driscoll won the August Award. Peter's from Island Rovers, he was a captain of the Cork Under-20 team that won the All-Ireland. Fintan McCarthy, the Skibbereen rower, became a world champion also in August, and he won an August Award for his endeavours. Emer Minahan from Skibbereen Rugby won, well, she was the player of the tournament as Munster Under-18s won the Interpros last year. Then we had St James's GA captain Joe O'Sullivan after their footballers won their first ever Carbery Junior A football championship. I'm nearly there. Tony Stevenson then, world champion kickboxer from West Cork Kickboxing Club and Bantry, won an award late in the year. And then the final monthly award went to Inya Breen from Skibbereen. She's the Munster and Ireland rugby player who enjoyed a fantastic 2019. So as you can see there, Jack, the variety and the breadth of sports covered again is phenomenal. You've world champions in there, you've All-Ireland champions, you've some of the best athletes in the country. So for the selection committee to pick an overall winner, it's a very, very tough task indeed. And that winner will be announced on Saturday night. And it will probably be on social media, I'm thinking around 11:15, hopefully. So you can check out our Twitter feed for that. Our special guest on the night is Jackie Hurley, the RT sports presenter, who has, of course, very strong links to West Cork. So all in all, going to be a superb night. It's just a celebration of the best of West Cork sport. We'll have full coverage in next week's Southern Star, and hopefully next week's podcast we'll have a couple of interviews too. So always a brilliant night. And just to say, in the last couple of years, the winners have been off the charts. Phil Healy, Ireland's fastest ever woman, won the award last year, the overall award. Before that, it was Shane O'Driscoll and Mark O'Donovan, who were world rowing champions in 2017. Gary and Paul O'Donovan have won this award. Lily Delacour, you go back to Graham Canty, Keith Cronin, Nolla Cleary, Eugene Coakley and Timmy Harnedy have won it twice, along with Jennifer O'Leary from Barry Row and Cork Camogie. They're the only people who've ever won this award twice. So it's just a fantastic award scheme. It's in its 22nd year. It's going strong. It's going to be a great night on Saturday night. And I, for one, can't wait.
Yeah, neither can I, Kieran. I'll also be there with you, hopefully conducting some interviews with some of the monthly award winners, as we said, and we'll play those over the next few weeks on the Star Sport podcast. Now, quickly, before we wrap up, you mentioned we're going to announce the Hall of Fame winner in this week's Southern Star. Anything else readers can look forward to? Yeah,
there's plenty in this week's Southern Star. The Cork hurlers and footballers didn't enjoy too much success in their pre-season finals last weekend, but they are just pre-season, so you have to look at a bigger picture here. So Dennis Hurley was at the Gaelic Grounds in Limerick for us, so he's reporting back with all the news. There's a special 2-page feature on St James's footballers. It kind of ties in with our preview of the West Cork Sports Star Awards. St James's are winning the Team of the Year award for their success in 2019, so I met up with Holly McCarthy, Kevin O'Brien and James O'Sullivan last week just to get their thoughts and I suppose the inside track and the inside story on their fantastic 2019 campaign. So that's a 2-page feature that will be in this week's paper. Beamish Cup is pouring on. There was a wins there for Spartak, beat Skibbereen last week after extra time. Clonakilty Town won after extra time. So we're almost down to the last 8. So we have a full page on the Beamish Cup. As well as that, there's 2 Kearney-Vurry quarterfinals on Wednesday. You've Hemis at the Hamilton High School are taking on Tralee CBS, and Clonakilty Community College are in action too on Wednesday. So we will have reports of those 2 games in Thursday's Southern Star. Also, next week is a big week for Coláiste Pobal Bantry's junior rugby team because they're playing in the first round of the Munster Schools Junior Cup for the very, very first time. And I caught up with their teacher and coach, Peter Cawley, earlier today just for a chat about preparations ahead of such a big game. We have a picture special for Ballinascarty's GA social last weekend. There's plenty in there, even though it's January, the sporting year is really picking up pace already. So pick up this Thursday Southern Star for another guaranteed good read.
And if you can't get to the shop, you can always get it online, www.thesouthernstar.ie/e-paper.
And now before I hit the gym after being inspired by my talk with Colm O'Driscoll and before I throw my processed dinner into the bin, I just want to say thanks for listening to this week's Star Sport podcast even. We'll be back at the same time next week, so if you enjoy these shows, please make sure to rate, review and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Acast, Stitcher or wherever else you listen to the show.